Hello, my name is Diana Loderhose. I'm the International Features Editor here at Deadline. We are in our Deadline studio here in Cannes, and I'm delighted to be joined by Nigeria's Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa.
Thank you for getting the name right.
Thank you so much for being here. It's a beautiful name, and
Yeah.
I'm delighted to have you in.
Thank you.
We were just speaking before outside, and this is your first time in Cannes. So tell us a little bit about that and what your experience has been like so far.
Thank you for having me, Diana. Yes, this is my first time at Cannes, and coming here representing Nigeria at such a pivotal moment for Nigeria in the area specifically of creative industry, whereby Nigeria is having this great global moment. And it is very important for us as a nation to see what we can do to leverage on the interest in the content and the creativity that comes out of Nigeria, that the global community seems to have on Nigeria, to build something long-term and sustainable. So being here at Cannes, especially at a time where Nigeria, really a Nigerian content or Nigerian movie or Nigerian actors, with My Father's Shadow, that has made the shortcut for Cannes. It is such a proud moment for me, and I just finished viewing the film, and literally at the end I cried because it was such a reflection of who I was or my identity as a Nigerian. So it's a great time to be Nigerian, and it's a great time to be manning over the creative industry in Nigeria, and it's a great time to be at Cannes.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's incredible that this is the film you just mentioned, My Father's Shadow. It's the first Nigerian film to be selected in Cannes, and it's played in an uncertain regard. And I'd love to know what does something like a slot at a major film festival like this, what does that do for the country as a whole, and really how is it going to boost local industries? What's the impact you envisage this having?
One of the main reasons why we as a government came in, we set up this Ministry of Art, Culture, Creative Industry and Tourism, was we wanted to have a diversification approach to governance. Nigeria is a big population, a population of about 240. And in 2050, Nigeria will be the third most populous nation in the world. So we have a huge community, grown population. And for the most part, 70% of that population is under the age of 17 years old. So you have a grown population that really does not have jobs. They don't have jobs. It's slightly disillusioned. They're slightly apathetic. And why? Is because there's really nothing to sustain them. Many of the Nigerians that are growing up, are very impoverished. They don't have access to oil companies or even to basic education. So what we see is a huge resource within the creative industry, because in every single locality, they have the ability to create content on their phone. It's all within the creative industry. So in identifying the creative industry as something that is going to be long-term and sustainable for this growing population, it was very important for us to set up a structure whereby we can have an economic expansion and at the same time job creation. So the creative industry for us is very huge, because we feel that that is the future of Nigeria, especially for this younger demographic. Now, to show My Father's Shadow here at Cannes, it means a lot, because a movie like My Father's Shadow, to have this kind of global recognition and global validation, is something that really will inspire a lot of young people that may not understand the huge real estate within the creative industry. So just the mere fact that you have a movie that is Nigerian and Nigerian actors, whereby Nigerian language is spoken, Nigerian fashion is all part of our identity, part of our tradition. This is really going to inspire a lot of young people that may not see a future in film, because film has not been given the kind of value from a global perspective. Yes, we do have Nollywood, But really, to be to be shortlisted at Cannes, I think that takes it to another level. And my hope is that we can take this message back right down to the grassroots. And hopefully, this will really have a huge resonance and a huge inspiration and impact for the growing population in Nigeria.
I read that there is a plan to invest 300 million.
Yeah.
And is that dollars or is
Yes,
that
$300 million. I think it's $200 million and then €100 million. So it's really over $300 million. Yeah.
to invest this in Nigeria's
Yeah, to
creative
invest.
industries? Tell me a little bit
Absolutely.
about how you plan, over what time period this
Yeah.
to go. Maybe you could explain how you plan to deploy it and what, the creative sector is huge. So what will go to film, TV, etc.
So when I came on board, what I found was that nothing had been done to build the creative industry and even the cultural industry. What you see coming out of the creative industry from Nigeria has been done by the creatives organically on their own. So the music, the film was something that the private sector and just the industry itself, because Nigerians are very dynamic and expressive people, government had never really created that enabling environment to allow the industry to grow. So what I did was we did a proper deep dive into benchmark countries that have been able to build their creative industry in a way that will really have economic impact and also soft power. You look at countries such as South Korea with their Korean wave. So we did a proper, together with BCG, they did a deep dive for us and we looked at the numbers and then we localized it in Nigeria. And from that, we came up with, if we are able to put the right modalities and frameworks in place, we felt that we could contribute to increase the GDP by at least $100 million by 2030. And we believe that we can do that. Obviously, the issues of policies, for example, there was no policy in place, intellectual property in place to, number one, protect players in the industry and also bring in investment, because you want to bring in investment, but you want to know that your investment is well protected. So intellectual property was the first thing that we got to work on. And we have completed that. We are just about to present that to the Federal Executive Council. And there are other policies, such as the incentives policy, so that you can sort of attract investment into the country and you can attract people to come into the country and know that they're going to have tax rebates and stuff like that. You have a cultural policy that we've also finished. We have a tourism policy that we've also completed, and a creative economy policy that we're really in the middle of doing. So once you put the policy in place, and then we looked at all the legal regulations, many of which were outdated and obsolete, because you really have to move with the time, because the creative industry is an industry that continues moving with the time. So you put that in place, and we looked at the issue of infrastructure. There was no infrastructure. For example, the fact that Afrobeats comes from Nigeria, and most of the big players in Afrobeats are Nigerian, but we don't have an arena in Nigeria. So yes, no arena. So the infrastructure was not there because government had never put that enabling environment. So we looked at funding, international funding. From Afrexim Bank, we got a commitment of $200 million, whereby it was really to provide funding to the creative industry. I took a memo to the Federal Executive Council, which is the highest decision-making body in government, and it was approved some months back, whereby we set up a special purpose vehicle, the Creative Economy Development Fund, and together with Afrexim Bank, what we are doing with this $200 million that has been committed by Afrexim Bank is to put it into the Creative Economy Development Fund so that we are able to distribute it without the bottlenecks that come with governance. So that money now is going to be injected directly into the industry. It is important for us to do that because funding is, of course, one of the areas that stops maybe small-scale businesses within the creative industry from coming up. And this is something that will catalyze the economic growth that we're looking at. So the Creative Economy Development Fund, about 2 weeks ago, I announced we've actionalized it. So applications are being made now, and once the applications have been vetted, we can inject that directly into the industry. And of course, it was very important for us to look at the infrastructure. Together with the French Treasury, we have come up with an agreement whereby we have it was $35 million. Now we're looking to increase that to 100 million euro, which is essentially to build infrastructure. So we have completed on ideas of infrastructure that we can put into place, including the Abuja Creative City, which is really to make Nigeria a one-stop shop and a creative and cultural capital of Africa, and a global creative and cultural Africa creative hub. There's a lot of interest in Nigerian content at the moment. So as a nation, we need to really, really do what we can to capitalize on this and bring the world into Nigeria so that they can have an experience of not just the culture, but of course the creativity. And Nigeria is an extremely diverse country of at least 240 different tribes and languages, as diverse as Chinese and German. So this is, for me, I see a huge worth in this because there's a lot of interest. There is a part of Nigeria that is very much like the Middle East. There's a part of Nigeria that's very much like Asia. There's a part of Nigeria that is very much like Europe. So there's something for everyone. So as a nation, we want to create that enabling environment that will allow the global community to come into Nigeria safely. And at the same time, that will allow Nigerians to be able to catalyze the growth that we're looking for and job creation, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Will there be a tax? There are plans for a tax incentive.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that will obviously feed into...
Yes, there is going to be, we're working on an incentive policy.
Okay.
Incentive policy, a policy on its own that looks at tax rebate for equipment coming in and so on and so forth. At the moment, we have just completed that incentive policy. I'm about to take that to the Federal Executive Council. So unless the Federal Executive Council approves it, which we're anticipating they will, because Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is very, very interested in creating an environment that will allow players and investors that want to come into the country to know that, Nigeria is a friendly environment for them to come into. So once that is approved at the Federal Executive Council, the ministry will make an announcement as to the specific rebates that Nigeria is willing to offer investors and the global community that want to come in and participate in Nigeria.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll watch this space.
Yes,
absolutely. Thank you so much for coming with us.
It's really exciting days for Nigeria, and I hope that we will see you in Nigeria in December.
I'd love to.
Because there's a dirty December. Well, they call it dirty.
Dirty December. What's this?
We're trying to, because there's a lot of interest in Nigeria. So every year now, and it's growing, last year, we had an influx of the global community come into Nigeria, and all the creators and the musicians that are Nigerian came back into Nigeria. So it is like the party month of the year. And we want to make this a global staple. And we want to create an environment, like I said, where the global community can come in safely, experience the culture of Nigeria, experience the gastronomy, the music. So December, Nigeria, or Lagos rather, one of the states in Nigeria, is a place to be in December. And I'm hoping that we can see you in December.
I would love to.
December.
Count me in on that, definitely. Thank you so much again, and congrats on everything. And I hope you have a great rest of the festival.
Thank you. Thank you so much.